Guys, whoever predicted Evan Singleton to win the strongest man on earth definitely deserves people to subscribe to his channel. We're here, we're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers on Alex the Strongman's channel. We talk all things strongman, it's incredible. I do predictions, you leave comments telling me I'm wrong, and then we come back and see who was right. Let's just get into the video. Fresh off predicting the winner for the strongest man on earth, I am back to give my predictions for the 2025 Strongman Open and the Mutant World Deadlift Championships. Quickly, I just want to recap the strongest man on earth because it truly was one of the greatest strongman shows I have ever watched. I mean, every single person put in a stellar performance in one event or another. The point disparity from the top all the way down to, I think, Maxime Boudreau in 14th because Shane Flowers and Bobby Thompson both pulled out, wasn't that much of a difference. Obviously it was about 40 points, I think, in the end, 40 to 50 points, but compare that to previous years, you're looking at 70 points. So it really was wide open all the way through. Anybody could have won it after that first day, depending on, obviously, how the second day went, but it was great. I enjoyed it, and well done to Evan Singleton for taking the win. Lucas Hatton in second, and big shout out to Thomas Evans, who came through and took third place. So the Strongman Open is set to take place on the 6th of September in Birmingham, and everything about this show is setting it up to be one of the best Giants live shows there has ever been. We have 12 athletes taking part in the full show. I believe Rano Heinler is the only person that's only doing the deadlift, and there's 6 events, which means that there's a total of 72 points up for grabs, as opposed to sometimes we only have 5 events with 10 athletes, so that's only 50 points up for grabs. So similar to the strongest man on earth with the amount of events and the amount of athletes, there's so much more room for the places to switch around. The lineup is extremely stacked with some returning faces that we haven't seen for a while in the likes of Pavlo Nakonechny and Hathor Bjornsson, and some regular faces that we always like to see, like Evan Singleton and the Stoltman brothers, for example. I'm not 100% sure that Tom is going to be competing. He has posted a video recently. I've not got around to watching it yet, but with his injury at the strongest man on earth, I would hazard a guess that he's not going to compete in this show. So when it comes to my predictions, bear that in mind because I haven't taken them into account quite as much as some people probably think I should. The athlete lineup is as follows. Hathor Bjornsson from Iceland, Evan, just fresh off the back of his strongest man on earth win. Tom Stoltman, potentially not taking part. Trey Mitchell, Paddy Haynes, Luke Stoltman, Pavlo Nakonechny returning, Adam Bishop also returning after injury, Matthew Ragg, Austin Andrade, Rano Heinler, who is only taking place in the Deadlift Championships, Eddie Williams off the back of his first Strongest Man on Earth performance, and Bryce Johnson, who I believe he was 5th at the Strongest Man on Earth, which was a really good performance. So like I said, a properly stacked lineup, a lot of great athletes, the likes of Thor coming back to Giants Live, something that we never thought we would see again. But Mutant have obviously put up a lot of money for the deadlift world record, and that is the first event out of 6. So the real question on everybody's mind is, will Thor pull 510 kilos at this competition? And my opinion is that it is definitely possible. He pulled 505 at Eisenhart in Germany not so long ago. It looked relatively comfortable. The mat that he pulled on was awful. He was pulling around midnight as well, I believe. So the odds were sort of stacked against him, and he made the rep look pretty comfortable. The other thing that we have to consider is that even if he doesn't pull 510, he's most likely going to take maximum points on the event, unless he decides to skip a weight, because Darren has been speaking about putting another weight in between 470 and the 510, maybe somewhere around the 490 mark. So if you're Thor and you're going for that world record, you might skip the 490 and go straight for the 510. It is difficult to predict this event in particular. With it being the set weight, it doesn't necessarily mean the better deadlifters are going to come out on top, because let's say you're a Trey Mitchell, you skip 425, so you do 400, skip 425, go straight up to, you do 400, you do 425, you skip 1,000 and go for 470, but you fail at 470. You could easily have somebody like an Evan Singleton who decides to do every weight, get the £1,000, doesn't do the 470, but then beats Trey Mitchell on the event, who would only have a top lift of 425. So it really does come down to what the athletes themselves decide to do on the day. The next pack of people after Hathor, there's probably about 7 of them that I think will be at a similar sort of range when it comes to the deadlift. We have Evan, Trey, Pavlo Nakonechny, Adam Bishop, Matthew Ragg, Austin Andrade, and Rauno Heinler. Obviously, Rauno doesn't necessarily matter for the overall show because his points will be taken out of it anyway. Now, Evan pulled well over 1,134 pounds on the trap bar at the strongest man on earth. That's around 515 kg. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to pull 500 kilos or anywhere near to it. In fact, I think Evan will pull 1,000 pounds. I don't think he'll go heavier than that. The difference with this is that the bar is out in front of him and he tends to lose the bar out in front of him. So when it came to the trap bar, it was basically perfectly suited for the way that he lifts. But of course, he's allowed to chuck the suit on. He's still a very strong, powerful deadlifter. So I think 1,000 pounds is in the tank. And like I said before, there is the possibility that people try to skip weight. So the likes of Trey Mitchell, Pavlo Nakonechny, even Austin Andrade, maybe Matthew Ragg, maybe Adam Bishop, they might try and skip the 1,000 pounds and go for the 470, meaning that Evan could potentially overtake all those guys. However, I'm here to predict the results, so I will go for the best deadlifters. I'm not going to try and predict what people are going to do in terms of weight jumps, because it's almost impossible. There's so many variables to take into account. A lot of these guys are coming off the back of the strongest man on earth, which is the heaviest show all year round. And what have they got? 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks before this show. So they're probably not going to be in top shape to be lifting the heaviest weights because they're just going to be absolutely battered. My assumption is that they will just rest for the majority of the time and then come into this show as sort of a ease back into it almost show, which isn't an easy show, but that's what I guess that they will do. Anyway, I have a top 3. I have Thor taking the win. I then have Adam Bishop, Trey Mitchell, and Rauno Heinler all hitting 470. So they're going to take second place. And then I think there'll be a bunch of guys, Evan Singleton, Austin Andrade, people like that, all tied on 1,000 pounds. So top 3 is pretty much half of the field. Farmers Walks is 30 meters one way, 150 kilos per hand. Now the people to look out for on this is again, Evan Singleton, Paddy Haynes, Eddie Williams, Bryce Johnson, who I was really impressed with at the strongest man on earth, obviously has a very good grip, and then Hathor Bjornsson as well. I think those guys will be the top 5. If Luke Stockman can hold on the entire way, then he definitely has a shot, because although he's getting older and people tend to see him as more of a static guy when it comes to like log press, he's actually a really quick mover. But I always notice with Luke on a yoke, on farmers, he will be going so fast and then he'll drop. I don't know if it's a mental thing, but I say it every time. I say it every single time. I say he's going to drop. He won't get to the end without taking a drop. And I'm always right. So those are my top 5. But top 3 on this event in this order, I'm going for Evan Singleton in first place, Eddie Williams taking second, and then Hathor taking third. I know Thor doesn't look like he moves very fast, but he's so tall that his strides are just so much longer than everybody else's. And Evan and Eddie, when they did a very similar event at the Strongest Man on Earth, were 1 and 2. Eddie took the win there, but I think when it just comes to farmers walks for speed, I think Evan's going to want to get one back on him. Unfortunately, this is where I see Trey Mitchell dropping some points. However, it is lighter than a lot of the frames we see. So this is 300 kilos in total. A lot of the time you're looking at a minimum of 350. I also think that he seems to do slightly better when the handles are closer in to his body, as opposed to being further apart, being wide set handles. So there's a potential that if he gets them up and his grip is solid, he can make it to the end and pick up some decent points. But I predicted he wouldn't move the frame at Strongest Man on Earth. He did move it, but he still came last on the event. I can't predict anything different for Trey Mitchell because he doesn't prove me wrong ever. And it's unfortunate, but it's just the way it is. Sandbag steeplechase, it's 2 150 kilo bags. It's a 30-meter course with a hurdle in the middle. And it's difficult for me to look past Paddy Haynes on this event. He's just so fast when it comes to moving, and especially if it comes to some type of front carry event. He is up against some really tough opposition here in the likes of Bryce Johnson, Hathor Bjornsson, Evan Singleton, even Luke Stoltman. There's so many good guys when it comes to moving events. Tom Stoltman, if he's fit, he will do very well at this sort of event, but I still think Paddy's going to take the win on this. There is a few people that I see losing some points when it comes to this, the likes of Austin Andrade, Trey Mitchell. I'm unsure about Bryce Johnson. I think he's going to be a good mover. I'm just wondering if he's got the lungs for it, because it is a brutal. If you've ever trained a sandbag run, you know how much air it takes out of you. And then if you're doing this where you've got 4 picks at this weight, it's not a fun event to do. But top 3, I'm going for Paddy Haynes to take the win. Evan Singleton being Mr. Consistent like he never normally is, but he seems to be bringing that to his game in 2nd place, and then Hathor Bjornsson in 3rd. Like I say, I would pick Tom for 3rd or maybe higher in this event, but with the bicep issue, I don't think he's going to be competing. It might have already been confirmed that he's not competing, so drop a comment down below and let me know if I'm just telling you all of this for no reason. Then we go on to the most exciting event in the entire show. It's the hammer hold, the front hold, the one that everybody tunes in to watch. I'm joking. I hate this event. It's boring. I don't know why it's still floating about. It's a 27 kilo hammer. They have to hold it out in front of them for as long as possible. And it's a snooze fest. It really is. It really is. I almost feel as though they're putting this in because I think Eddie Hall still has the record. I almost feel like that's why they're putting it in, because then they could say Eddie Hall has the world record, and then Hathor probably won't beat it, because this event is so much to do with leverages. So the people that I said will do bad on the last event, Trey Mitchell, Austin Andrade, I see them doing really well on this event because they've just got shorter appendages and a bigger chest. It's a boring event. It's so much more to do with your leverages and physics than it is to do with your strength. And I wish they would get rid of it, but I have got a top 3 anyway. So I've gone with Trey taking the win, Austin Andrade in 2nd, and then Matt Ragg in 3rd, because he's just built like an absolute brick shithouse as well. So maybe he'll do well on this. Viking press, 150 kilos, definitely brought in for Thor. If the last one wasn't brought in because Thor is there, then this one was brought in because Thor is here. Trey Mitchell has the record with about 17 or 18 reps on this. A lot of guys in this field are very good at it. I can see somebody like Austin Andrade having a really good performance on this. I don't think he's done Viking press at a Giants live show before. Evan Singleton, I'm pretty certain he took the record next to Trey, and then Trey went one more than him. So he had the record for all of about 10-15 seconds. And I actually think that the Viking press they do at Giants Live is really good, because sometimes with these sort of events, it can be either way too heavy or way too light. But I do think that we get a good disparity of people not getting, maybe get a 6 or 7, and then some people getting right close to that 20 mark. It definitely separates the good pressers from the bad pressers. It's not just an endurance event. For some people, it is too heavy. For some people, it is more cardio. And I think that's what it should be. It really should. It shouldn't be so light that the bad pressers can beat the good pressers. Like a car deadlift. A lot of car deadlifts, you see, somebody that's not as good at deadlifting, like myself, for example, I'm not as good of a deadlifter. I can beat people that are better deadlifters because I will be able to go for longer. I'm like Captain America, I can just do this all day. So on this event, we're looking out for the people like Evan Singleton, Trey Mitchell, and I think Luke Stoltman could have a good performance here. I'm very interested to see how Bryce Johnson gets on, because at the Strongest Man on Earth, one thing that I noticed is his pressing power and his deadlift power were very, very good. But his stability at the top to be able to lock the lifts out just wasn't there. So I'm wondering, with this implement, with it being fixed in place, will he have a better showing? I'm not sure, but he's my dark horse on this event. So I'm going to go for a top 3 of the 3 that I just mentioned. I'm going to go for Evan Singleton taking the win and the world record, Trey Mitchell in 2nd place, and then Luke Stoltman in 3rd place. The final event is not the Atlas Stones. The final event is the Power Stairs, and I'm not a big fan. I don't know why they're putting Power Stairs when Hathor Bjornsson is coming back to Giants Live. They should have kept the stones. Most of the time, I would say it's great that they're changing the stones out for something different. This is the one time they've got it wrong, because if they're having Thor and Tom, that could have been such a good battle. They should have just, even if those two were first and last, those two should have gone out on the stones at the same time. But it's the power stairs. I enjoy the power stairs. It's 4 implements, 3 stairs, I want to say, 200 up to 250. So I would assume the jumps are 200, maybe 220, 230, what would the jumps be? 200, 220, 230, 240. No, it can't be that. 200, 220, 235, 250. Maybe. I'm not 100% sure. But there's 4 implements anyway. There is 4 implements anyway, and they're going to be taking them up, I believe, 3 stairs. If Thor is still feeling in decent shape after his max effort deadlift and the rest of the events, I don't see anybody beating him on this. He is the best deadlifter in the world, and he's 6'9". So he is perfectly built for this event. I think Evan can do really well, potentially somebody to challenge Thor on this, but I don't think that he will. We're really looking out for the taller athletes that are still relatively mobile as well. I feel like Pavlo Nakonechny would be very good at this event as well, but I've not spoken about him much because he's just such an unknown at the moment. We've not seen him in the sport for so long. Obviously, he's had, I think he had the car crash, didn't he? And then he's had injuries after that. There was speculation that he wasn't going to come back, and then he was, and then he got injured again. But I'm hoping he gets here fit and healthy, and I hope he can put on a good show, because the potential that that man has is absolutely ridiculous. My top 3 on this event, though, is Hathor Bjornsson, Evan Singleton, and then Bryce Johnson. I'm going to say it again. Bryce really impressed me at the Strongest Man on Earth. He wasn't that far behind Evan on the final event, which is one of Evan's best events as well. I'd heard a lot of people say how good he was. I know that he'd won North America's Strongest Man, but I'd never seen him compete, and sometimes people say, oh, this guy's incredible, and then they get into the really, really top shows, and they just don't do as well as people expect them to do. So I never like to predict a newcomer to do incredibly well, because I know they're not going to watch the video, so it's not going to put pressure on them. But if I haven't personally seen them compete, I've only seen training footage and results on a spreadsheet, I don't have enough to go on. I will always mention them or try to mention them and say that I've heard this and I've seen this in their training, but I will never say they are one of the best in the world at this event if we've never seen them against the best in the world at a certain event. But when it comes to the power stairs, I think Bryce Johnson can put in a very good performance. So overall, I have Evan Singleton taking the win, the same guy that I had taking the win at the Strongest Man on Earth. I just don't see him dropping that many points. I think he'll be up there in the deadlift. He's going to be mid-pack, maybe closer to the top, and all the other events are really good events for Evan. Maybe the hammer hold isn't a good event for him. I'm not entirely sure, but I think he'll do absolutely fine in it. I do think that Thor could take the overall win, but I just have a feeling the max deadlift at the start is going to just take so much out of him. Top 3 then, I'm going to go for Evan Singleton, Hathor Bjornsson, and then in 3rd place, even though I've not mentioned him that much, I'm actually going to go for Paddy Haynes, because he is very good at all of the events. I feel like the Viking press he might do okay on. I could be wrong, but it's not that heavy. He has good leg drive. He might be able to manipulate the machine and get a decent few reps out of it. He's good at the deadlift. He's got a great grip for the farmer's watts. I just think he's going to do consistently well throughout every single event. He might not get in the top 3 on every event, but he'll probably be 4th or 5th on pretty much all of them, which I think will land him in 3rd place. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers as quick as we can. And I don't know how long it's going to take, but we're going to make it. We're going to get there. As always, thank you for watching, and join me in the next one.